Hello everyone, happy weekend. Welcome to your Rangers review, a wee weekend special for you to tide you over until Monday. I'm Derek Clark. You can see I've got the old green screen behind me. It's experimental. Let us know what you think of it, folks. No idea if I have the lighting right or whatsoever. But yeah, they're testing out some green screens for us. So yeah, you can let us know if you prefer that or the lovely image of the late, great Her Majesty the Queen that was positioned behind me, but you can let us know. Stevie joins us. How's it going, Stevie?
Yeah, good afternoon. Hope you're well, Derek. Hope everybody's well, having a good weekend, making the most of the weather. So hopefully everybody's okay.
Yeah, it's been an absolute scorcher. It certainly is. Not used to this sort of climate, I've got to say. 29 degrees. It was pushing on 30 yesterday as well. Are you a sun worshipper, Stevie?
Absolutely not with this dome, Derek. I try and stay out the way. So no, I'm not a lover of the sun. Of factor 50 and a baseball cap is a go-to for me in the sun.
Yeah, you and me both. Right, bits and pieces to get our teeth stuck into. I know that Russell Martin conducted an interview yesterday following the fixtures release with Sky, talking about the plans, pre-season preparations. He talked about John Souttar facing Motherwell, of course, first up. He'll be going up against a former Norwich City teammate of his as well, the new Motherwell boss, who spent time together at Carrow Road. Before we get stuck into the sort of what he had to say, Stevie, the fixtures, Motherwell away, quite happy with that. A 5:30 p.m. kickoff on Saturday evening, Saturday the 2nd of August.
Well, any away trip was going to be difficult, wasn't it? But if you consider that we managed to miss out the top 6 away sides in terms of, Kelly, Hibs, Celtic weren't going to get drawn, but like your Aberdeen and things like that, I thought that's where we would end up, one of these kind of away trips that we really didn't want. Motherwell is always a tough game. Traditionally, we do quite well there. They're obviously going to be in the process of a new manager, lots of changes to their squad and things. So, listen, it's going to be difficult for Park. They'll be up for it. But I do think that going to, Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, Kilmarnock would have been the ones that you really wanted to avoid. So Motherwell's a nice surface. We do traditionally do well there. So fingers crossed, Eric. It's not the worst outcome that we could have had. I actually think the fixtures on paper are it's quite a good kind of layout for us until we get to December and January, where it becomes extremely difficult. I think, into that phase you have Kilmarnock away, Hearts away, Celtic away, Aberdeen away, and then Hibs away, all 5 away games and not in a row consecutively, but your 5 calendar away fixtures over that period of time is that run. So that's going to be extremely difficult. So I think it'll be a case of Rangers starting hard and starting as strong as they can and getting in ahead of steam before they then look to play, that Christmas and January period, where traditionally, Russell Martin sides have been stronger the more the season goes on. So that's what you're hoping for, Derek. I'm not one of these guys that go, right, okay, we can get 9 points from 3. I'm not like that. You take one game at a time and every game's going to be difficult. But there's certainly that December-January period.
Tough.
It is extremely tough. I'm not going to say it's make or break, but I just hope that when it comes to that point, we're in the reckoning and in the running for things, because if we are, then I think we'll be doing extremely well.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a number of months before we start seeing Russell Martin's style of play really taking shape with this Rangers squad. So like you, Stevie, you just hope that you're in a title race by then and you haven't dropped too many points. But I get your point. Yeah, it's pretty precarious over New Year and January. Well, yeah, you're quite right. December and January time, some tasty fixtures in there. Rangers kicking off, of course, with that trip to Fir Park in a home game against Dundee on the 9th of August. A trip to Paisley on the 23rd. That first Old Firm fixture taking place at Ibrox Sunday, the 31st of August. And you'd really hope you get a win in that fixture. That will certainly help Russell Martin, that's for sure. If he can get that first win at his first attempt, Stevie, often something labelled at Philip Clement, rightly or wrongly, during his time was that it took him so long. Once that builds up to get that first win over Celtic, it becomes an issue. If he can sort that out immediately, then that'll do him the world of good.
Yeah, it goes without saying. I think that game for both clubs will be sandwiched in between European qualifiers. We don't know what level we'll be at. Celtic will have a Champions League, Champions Path, base v base kind of thing. I think they go through, so they'll have a difficult tie. Wherever we are, we're going to have a difficult tie. So we would hope to be in the same position in the Champions League. So that's going to be really interesting because traditionally, Derek, these games, it's been us and they've been safe passage through. So with both of them, that'll be an interesting one. We do know that fixture 3 could be cancelled for everybody under the new sort of guidelines. So there's 5 games there that could theoretically all come off the calendar and be rescheduled. So you've also got the League Cup. Where are we going to pitch up for that? So it's a difficult start no matter what way you look at it. I think on paper it's been kind to us as such, but it's up to Russell Martin to be in a position where he can maximise that as best as possible. So the Old Firm, it's going to be vital. I think these are the ones that I think every kind of supporter, Derek. We don't want to be going in after the first 4 games being 5 points behind. And traditionally, that's what's been happening to us now for years.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get into that Old Firm, going head to head with them, and if you can't beat them, you want to at least shake them so that you go right. Russell Martin's a few weeks in here and he's got it together and this is what he's doing. So there's lots of little markers to be put down. You certainly want to avoid defeat. But like you say, if you can get that done straight away, then it sends out a huge, huge message to absolutely everyone. So it's an intriguing one, I think. And I'm really, I just hope that we'll be in position by then. You don't want early setbacks, at any point. So fingers crossed.
Yep. Yes, of course, you mentioned Europe. Russell Martin was asked about that, and incomings at that point up until the Panathinaikos game, which will take place either the 22nd or 22nd of July, second qualifying round. Rangers take on the Greek side, which is going to be a tough task, I think, of the 3 teams that Rangers could have got. I don't think there was many that would have wanted Panathinaikos, but there you go. Russell Martin, just on the prospect of incomings before then, says, I think we'll have a few before the European game. Everyone's working extremely hard. That's what the bulk of the work has been in the last week or so, identifying character and talent we want in the building, which can add to us and add to the group and add culturally and in performance. I'm excited about the people we're starting to look at and will hopefully add. So it's fair to say, if going by social media, Stevie, there is a real frustration at the lack of bodies in the building at this point. Only Lyle Cameron has been unveiled as a Rangers player. Can you understand that frustration at this point, given that, Johnny mentioned on the show with me last time out that Hearts have already brought in 6 and many Rangers supporters were expecting Rangers to be pretty active as Hearts have been so far.
Yeah, I can understand it. Part of me even thinks similarly, but I also realise that we've got to get this right. So, a few is an interesting term because a few is not 2, that's a couple. A few is 3 and more. So if we get 3 or 4 players that are of top quality first team level, who are all going into the first team ready for that Champions League, and they're 4 or 3 and 4 that works, Derek, then I'm on board with that. I can remain patient up until that point, and it's up to Russell Martin to sift through the weeds somewhat and figure out what his squad is and who's going to make that cut. There might be 1 or 2 that sneaks in. I would think that your obvious ones, like your Matondos, your Cifuentes, your Dowells, your Ben Davies, might see game time in pre-season, but ultimately going forward won't feature. I think they'll look to move them on. I've always kind of thought that'll be interesting. And then you've got the ones on the outskirts, your likes of your Bayramis and things where maybe haven't completely worked. Do they have a future? That we'll find out. So, there's a lot of players working hard in the summer, ready to go. Even if you look at Danilo, spent, the last 2 weeks or so working in Brazil on the beaches and getting personal training. Jack Butland's been in Dubai. James Tavernier, I think, has been in Dubai. Jack Butland, sorry, has been abroad. I'm not sure if he was Dubai. James Tavernier was Dubai. So there's quite a few players that have been working extremely hard to hit the ground running. So it's going to be interesting. I still think that statement, cutting through the weeds, is where he really needs to be and figure out, have I got 16 players? Then I can add another 4 or 5 or 6 during the whole time of this transfer window. But short term, what does he definitely need quality wise for the Champions League? It's really interesting to see who we're linked with. Farmy, Poku, and Max Aarons would be excellent additions. I think they would be 2 players, Derek, that would start. So if you gave me them 2 plus another couple, I might be on board with that. Could he mould something out of Oscar Cortez, for example? We'll just need to wait and see. These are all things that we might have written off in our minds, but you never know what Russell Martin can do with it. So it's going to be extremely interesting. I think the important thing is, Derek, and I wanted to touch on this a wee bit, is we need to show a degree of patience here. And that means not getting too up nor down with things that you read on the internet every single day. Cyril Dessers has went from, out the door to fees agreed to back in the door to out the door to in the door. Then he's at airports and he's doing this, he's doing that. Cyril Dessers has been on his honeymoon with his new wife, which we congratulate him on for that. And all these stories, Rangers still haven't received any bids that we're aware of at time of recording this morning. So we just need to be patient with that. Don't confuse these reports with the club aren't doing this, the club aren't doing that. So I am trying to remain relaxed and just let it unfold itself, and hopefully it will. And it's important that we remain as grounded as possible with everything that's going on, in my opinion. Now, ask me again in 3 days, by Monday, when we're doing the report, Derek, and I might be feeling differently. But I'm trying to look at it with a wee bit of context and try and look at it with a degree of as much level-headedness as I can.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. On Dessers, Martin was asked about him, and the speculation, of course, he says updates will come as and when they're actually real. At the minute, I'm expecting Cyril to return on Monday, and I'm excited to work with him. Now, John Suter was also on the...
just a quick word, see, Derek, on that Cyril Dessers thing while you're looking for the Suter stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting, and it's a bit of a tale from Russell Martin. He says you'll get an update if and when it becomes real. I think that's where it tells you everything. A lot of talk in Greek papers, a lot of talk from people. It doesn't become real until you actually do something. You can sit and say things about bids and all sorts until Rangers receive a bid, whether it's through the old-fashioned fax machine or whatever it is that teams want to do. It's all talk. None of it's real. Cyril will be there on Monday morning. At this point, we're we're aware, and that doesn't change. So that's a bit about the speculation that Rangers fans just need to understand that. And that goes back to a wee bit more about saying, listening to the proper updates instead of listening to everybody that's desperate to be in the know that deals are done and things aren't done. Wait and see how it goes.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. On John Suter, of course, in his operation, is it hernia operation? He was asked about that. He says John wants to play for his country. And so many players get lambasted for pulling out of international games for whatever reason. He had a minor injury, but he's desperate to play for his country, which I admire. The plan was here. Everyone was aware of it, and he's had a minor operation. And I expect him to be fit for the Panathinaikos game. It hasn't really affected preparation. He's been able to go away and play and then be ready for us. So that's what he had to say on John Suter. There were certainly, going by social media, a few fans perplexed as to why he never went for that operation before the 2 Scotland matches. But yeah, Russell Martin saying he expects him to be fit for Panathinaikos, Stevie. Sort of allays the fears somewhat on John Souttar. My sort of concern was the players coming back on Monday to train. I mean, Souttar was in international duty, so he wasn't expected back until the following week, if I'm not mistaken. You'd like to think that he's back then and is able to take part in the rigorous training that Russell Martin and his coaching staff will be putting the team through.
He had a minor hernia surgery, Derek, which in reality is 2 or 3 weeks. Scotland game was last week. He had that week, this week, next week, and then he's due back. So he might not be, rough and tumble straight away. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to do all the on-grass stuff, running and things like that. And I'm quite relaxed about it all. The fact that Russell Martin is quite relaxed about it all. And I think it was key immediately, backs his player and puts his player first. And, seems to be very much on his team. I think that was key. So no, I didn't comment on it at the time. I didn't put anything up from my website or anything because it wasn't what it was made out. I was aware of that from the very start, and I was quite comfortable with it. So I honestly don't see it as being an issue. This is what I mean about overreacting to headlines and, people that are desperate to paint a narrative and get those clicks and things like that. We need to just be careful of, let's put the brakes on, wait and see what the club and Russell Martin have reported. There was no going behind the club back. There was no, I'm pretty sure, Derek, if this was an urgent thing, i.e. it was going to keep him out 3 months or it was going to keep him out whatever, he would have been in way before. Now, it's a minor tidy-up surgery. A hernia is a small rip in your abdomen. That's all it is. And most often you get some of the muscle poking through, which sometimes with a hernia is why it causes a bulge.
Yeah.
And that's not to sound old Dr. Stevie. I've just had one when I was younger and I know what it is. So all it is stitches in your stomach lining, Derek, to kind of sew it up, more or less. And I'm pretty sure that John Souttar will be absolutely fine. And even if he's not, I'm pretty sure that John Souttar would be putting himself front and centre because he normally does to play through these kind of things. So I've got no real fears about that. Would we see him likely in the earlier friendlies? Club Brugge coming on the 6th of July? I think possibly not. But by the time the team go to St George's and that the week after down south for their training group and things, he'll be well involved. Yeah. So it's much to do about not a lot, Derek, in my opinion.
Yep. Just staying on the topic of centre-backs, Leon Balogh, of course, has found a new club. He will team up with Connor Goldson again. He signed for Aris Limassol over in Cyprus. It's been reported for some time he's going to go over there. So good move for big Leon, him and Goldson at the heart of that defence. By all accounts, I think Goldson was in the Cypriot team of the year last season. He was very well liked over there. And yeah, I wish him well. Big Leon, fantastic guy to have represented Rangers. And yeah, he goes and will partner Connor Goldson next season. Thoughts on that, Stevie?
Yeah, we wish him all the best. Really good servant for Rangers. I think that it's a move where he should be really comfortable in that. Hopefully manages his games and the hot weather and things will help him. And listen, not a bad word to say about Leon Balogh in the slightest. I think a top player, a top guy, someone that really kind of bought into what we are and understood what Rangers was like. So nothing but praise for him, his time here. Really wish him all the best. At least we can't bring him back when we panic and realise we don't have a centre half before Europe. So no, in all seriousness, nothing but good comments for him and best wishes. And I hope he goes over there and smashes it just as much as Connor Goldson has. So good luck to him. And we wish him all the best.
Yep. Before we wrap up, of course, on Monday, the extraordinary general meeting will take place. And Andrew Kavanagh and the new Rangers chairman, of course, and Parag Marathi will be in attendance at that. It provides the mechanism for the Rangers Takeover Consortium to put money into the club. Shares to the value of £20 million, of course, will be issued. and the Americans will provide their first sort of injection of cash to the club. So, EGM taking place on that Monday, Stevie. It'll be good to hear and see from both Andrew Cavan and Parag Marathi, really for the first time. I mean, we got the statement when the takeover was ratified, of course, but it'll be good to hear their vision, if you like, for Rangers going forward.
Yeah, of course it is. I don't think there'll be people that make themselves available that much, Derek. So hopefully the questions that are put to them are viable ones that we all want to know about. I think that's key, not to force shareholders and things to try and do, put your thoughts about hot pies and things at the side at the moment and ask them things about the infrastructure of the football club. Short and long-term plans, what's their vision, what's their, how many times are they going to invest into the club with cash injections? This cash injection they put in, is it short or long-term? What's their ideas behind the football club, stadium expansion, corporate vision, commercial vision? These are questions that I really want people to ask. It's unclear at the moment whether or not we'll get the opportunity to go as fan media and speak to them. That'll be an interesting one, but I have a lot of things I would like to put to them. And like to find about. So hopefully, the people that are there as shareholders, and with all respect to them, I would not tell them what to do, but I would ask them to try, politely ask them to try and ask the prominent questions of our new owners, because these are things that we won't get the opportunity to do every week, Derek, or even every 6 months. We've already been given an insight into the fact that the Americans are very much people that like to operate behind the scenes and do things quietly. So going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be a chance, I think, for everybody to get some answers. So use it wisely. Looking forward to what they've got to say. That bit of leadership could be excellent. So you've got to embrace these things. We wanted new owners. They're here. Let's see what they've got to say for themselves.
Yep, that takes place on Monday morning, folks, and we'll have all the coverage for you on the Rangers review. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Right, we'll just wrap up there for now. Up to anything this weekend, Stevie?
No, I am not. Bit of daddy daycare, wee man's football, etc. will be happening. So, and then I think I'll probably take them to the cinema or something that they might want to do. But apart from that, Derek, it's a very relaxed. In a very relaxed few days. I don't know if there's any football on the FIFA World Club Cup.
Have you watched any of that?
Nah, I haven't. I've been night shift this week, so I've avoided all the games and I haven't seen much of it at all. But I do like to try and see Chelsea where I can. So I'll maybe see if there's any games on that kind of take my fancy. But aside of that, Derek, nope. I've had a break. I'm looking forward to things beginning to hot up now. I'm like everybody else, I may exuberate or give you nonsense about trying to stay calm, but I'm as impatient. I want the signings here. I want to get ready for. I really am desperate for Russell Martin to do well.
Yeah.
So that he's given a fair crack at it. That's my biggest wish. I don't want it to get into a situation where he flops out of Europe and then. Which I think is a really difficult ask. Panathinaikos, I think, for me is really, really difficult. But there's got to be signs of something somewhere for me, hopefully. I don't want him to have a start where he's got 7 out of 12 points and we're sitting going, this isn't great, drawn in the first game, beaten by them or whatever. But yeah, I think that would be a dampener for everybody. So I want very much for him that he hits the ground running. I don't think he was many people's choice, but I think everybody's behind him now, which is great to see. So let's hope that he hits the ground running. I want to see this sexy football he talks about, Derek. I want to see a Rangers team knocking it about and really attacking and pinning people in and bullying teams and dominating teams and being attacking, pace and power. That's just a joy after what we've had. So let's hope that these things that were being sold all come to fruition, and that's my kind of takeaway. That's what I really want, Derek. So let's hope we can build towards it in the coming weeks.
Yeah, you certainly like to think so. Right, folks, that'll do us there. Big thanks to Stevie for joining us on the show. Thank you to you all for tuning in as well. We'll be back again on Monday morning. So enjoy your weekend, whatever you are doing, and we'll speak to you later on. Bye for now.